Hi, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Bobby Rush. As a blues man, I love Mississippi Public Broadcasting. If you support Mississippi music and their local programming, donate now, right now, and become a member today, not tomorrow. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Doesn't matter how big or small, but we prefer big. Thank you very much.
School choice, rural hospitals, voter access. The 2026 Mississippi Legislature will impact you and your family for years to come. MPB brings you At Issue, a weekly analysis of the legislative session and the issues affecting you with perspectives from both sides of the aisle. Brandon Jones and new At Issue analyst Rebecca Staples join me, Wilson Stribling, every Monday at 5 p.m. only on MPB Think Radio and wherever you get your podcasts. MPB, your stories, our mission.
Okie dokie, folks, welcome back. Horticulturalist Felder Rushing. Yes, indeed, it's finally going to get cold. Oddly enough, Java, by the way, how you doing?
I'm doing fine. As fine can be, man, because it's
looks like
happening.
You might be home with the kids next week.
I'm kind of anticipating it a little bit. I don't want to speak it too loud, but I'm anticipating.
Yeah, I understand. Well, this is this is, I hate to say this is normal weather. This is average weather, what we're about to have. Mississippi, the northern part down the coast is zone 7, 8, and parts of 9, parts of 7, parts of 8, most of 8 and parts of 9, which means it's typically supposed to get down to the teens at least once a year.
Now, Felder, back that up a little bit. You were saying 7 and parts of 9. What were we talking about?
Okay, so U.S. Department of Agriculture, they break up the country according to weather zones. Central Mississippi is zone 8. Top of Mississippi is zone 7. It goes on up to like Michigan, which is zone 3 or 4. And the Gulf Coast is zone 9. So the higher the number, the milder the winter. So in general, zone 8, which is most of Mississippi, is supposed to get down to mid-teens at least once a year. That's the average. Matter of fact, a lot of gardeners, they identify themselves by what zone they are. Hi, I'm Felder. I'm from zone 8. Or I'm Susie. I'm from zone 10B. And it really doesn't make a lot of sense to me as a horticulturist, because the zone is based just on the average low temperature in the wintertime, which means it's just got to hit it, a few times. So central Mississippi is supposed to get down to the teens. It's supposed to. That's what it does. Problem is, the zone doesn't also deal with hot summer times and drought and heavy rains. And most important, what's causing us concern with our plants here isn't the fact that it's going to get cold this weekend, but it's a sudden cold. It goes from warm like we've had this week, and it's pretty warm out there. We've got plants blooming right now, fruit trees, blueberries blooming right now. And so where mostly these plants would normally cool down and stay cool, and then as the spring gets here, it warms back up, we have spring, almost summer weather in the middle of the winter, and it drops suddenly down these freezes. And that's what gets plants. We have plants that will actually grow outdoors in Michigan and Minnesota that will freeze in Mississippi because it's a sudden freeze like what we're going to have. So for the next couple of hours, we're going to talk about things people can do in their gardens, which you really ought to not to be doing. But I know from spending time on the Mississippi Gardening Facebook, a lot of people still have real concerns. And that's what we're here for, Java, to chat with folks about what's going on in their garden.
Well,
What?
No, wow. I mean, you are right. We're here to help people with their gardens, and with the freeze, people have a lot of questions. So I was like, let's not waste any time, because Jim from Jackson is on the line, and he has a question about the freeze.
Okay, Jim. Good morning. How are you, sir?
Good morning, Felder. Jim Rosenblatt here. I read the advice you gave in the Clarion Ledger about the upcoming freeze, about covering fruit trees. But I've also heard that if you spray water on them before the freeze, that's supposed to be helpful. Is there any truth to that?
Well, that's a real interesting thing, and I hear that a lot, and there is sort of some truth to it. We know in Florida, in some of the warmer places, fruit growers citrus growers, other fruit growers have got these special irrigation systems set up, and it's not watering. It's kind of a mist. It throws out a real fine spray, and as it lands on the plants and on the flowers, as that water freezes, it gives off heat, so it can protect plants. So there's some truth to it. The problem is, Jim, it doesn't help much below the upper 20s. If it gets down to 25 or below, it really doesn't help at all. As a matter of fact, it can actually add to the ice load and break plant. So watering plants before freeze can keep their roots from drying out, and the plants drying from cold winter winds. But as far as just wetting the plants down, that only helps if you do it constantly, so the water is constantly melting, giving off heat, and it only helps down to the upper 20s. So it's one of those things, if you want to water the plants really good before a freeze, that can insulate them a little bit, but it's really not going to help prevent any freeze if it gets down below the mid-20s.
I've lost 3 satsuma trees in the last years because of hard freezes. So this year I planted them in pots, and I'm going to bring them inside the garage, and I hope that will help them get through the cold.
Well, it should, because sasanquas are not, they'll tolerate a frost. The trees will actually tolerate a little bit of a freeze, but the flowers and the fruits won't. So we are not in citrus country. People on the Gulf Coast can usually get away with fruit most of the time, but every few years, even in Florida, they lose their fruit trees. So gonna have to keep citrus in a pot and bring them in.
And when you try to cover a fruit tree, sometimes it takes a pretty big cover.
I don't know that I've ever actually said cover a fruit tree, because I don't think it's possible. Small fruit, small plants, blueberries, yeah, you could do that, but there's no way to cover a tree. There's just no way. And besides, it only helps covering only helps down to maybe 20 or so. If it gets below there, that cold is going to cut right through. So covering small plants enough to cover them all the way to the ground and capture some of the heat coming from the ground, that's practical, but there's no way to cover a big plant or big tree. It's really not practical.
If you have to go out and about, though, I suggest putting a hot baked potato in each pocket to keep your hands warm.
That's right. So you were raised right, young man.
And then you can eat it when you go inside.
Yeah, heck yeah. So anyway, that's what it's all about, coping mechanism, sir.
But I like your advice about wait till the freeze is over and then cut off the dead stuff and keep it going.
There's only so much else we can do. I mean, there's just only so much we can do. The fact is, this wintertime, we should expect to get some kind of cold weather from time to time, and it's just what happened.
Thank you, Felder, and I'm glad to see your show is 2 hours now.
Appreciate it, Jim. Thanks for calling back in. We appreciate that. And Java, yeah, we are up to 2 hours, and I know a lot of folks aren't going to really pay that much. They're not going to stay tuned all this whole time.
You'll be surprised, Felder. You'll be surprised.
Really? Well, but for folks who don't tune in for the 2 hours, I would like to remind you that you can always go back and listen at any time you want, 24/7, by going to YouTube and typing in Gestalt Gardener, or go to mpbonline.org and click on our podcast. You can not only hear what you missed, but you can see it, because we're going to be showing some pictures also. I've got a whole bunch of pictures here that I want to share.
Oh, you got your notes today.
I do. Well, it's because I'm not that good at juggling screens back and forth. So have we got any other calls yet?
No, not yet. But as I always want to remind people that you can call in 1-877-MPB-RING, 1-877-672-7464. Or if you are on YouTube, you can leave a question or a comment in the chat, in the live chat. I have a few active people in there right now. Margie, Jacktown 77. Star Bama. Okay. Got some Alabama people out here. Fair Hope. I see you. And Pamela. So good morning to everybody on the YouTube chat, and reminder that you can leave a question or comment in there. But Felder, I do have a question.
All righty.
With the freeze coming up, and we've talked about this before, how much booglification do you think is going to happen this weekend?
That's a good question, and for folks who don't know, booglify is a word that a friend of mine coined when I was in graduate school. It's what happens when plants freeze and when it thaws, they turn into just melty, green, drippy, mushy stuff. This is what happens to cannas and bananas and elephant ears and tropical plants you leave out. Booglification, if it's going to happen, it's going to happen by now, though. We've had enough frost and light freezes where the plants, they're going to booglify. They're going to turn brown and green and drip and nasty and wilt down. They've already done that by now. What we're worried about right now, Java, is plants that are normally hardy that get frozen. And I'm talking about normally hardy plants. There's some borderline plants like the snapdragons I put out, for example. Snapdragons can take a freeze, but a lot of times they can't take a sudden hard freeze. So I'm expecting to lose some snapdragons. My pansies, violas should do fine. My kale will do fine. But if you've got some borderline plants that really shouldn't be out this time of year, I'm thinking lettuce, things like that, they may actually freeze. Also, Java, and we'll talk about this a little bit later, but one of the biggest damage to landscape shrubs, not just the flowers, we're going to lose camellias. Camellia flowers are going to freeze. Early paper whites, they're going to freeze. It's not going to hurt the plants. They'll be back. But if we have some borderline plants like azaleas, certain hollies and other plants, sometimes they've still got enough moisture in the trunks, in the lower trunks, where if it freezes, it bursts the bark, busts whatever, the bark split, the green stuff right on the trunk freezes, and it expands, and when it thaws, it splits the trunk, and that can actually kill plants. So we'll be talking about some of that a little bit later, but booglification has already happened. Now we're worried about actual freezing, and there's a real risk of it. By the way, Java, let me show a couple of 3 pictures here real quick. I know we've got a break coming up, and we've got the lines open. Anybody like to give us a call? It's toll free, and I won't try to sell anything. Here's what I would do in my garden, or here's what I tell my mother to do in her garden. So stick with us. We're going to cover plenty of that, but let me show a picture of my garden from 2 Januaries ago. This is picture number 1. It's what my garden looked like this time of year 2 years ago. Tell me when the picture's up, Java, because I can't see it.
Oh man, I don't even remember all this snow.
It was only there for 2 days. If you blinked, you'd have missed it. But we got a whole bunch of snow, and 3 days later, it was like it was never even there.
Okay,
so,
now I do remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. And matter of fact, let's show picture number 2. This is what my truck looked like last January. You know, we got us a little freeze. Matter of fact, it froze even down on the Gulf Coast and into Alabama. This is what the garden in the back of my truck typically looks like in the wintertime.
I guess that's what we're looking forward to this weekend.
Yeah, and I'm expecting to lose some of that. You know, that's just part of gardening. I put some stuff out there. Most of it will make it because I've learned over the years what will take it and what won't. And I minimize what I plant that's a gamble. So somehow I'll have to replant. But let me show you this last picture. I know we got a break coming up. Let me show you picture number 3. This is what you ought to be having out in your yard. You'll never worry about the freezes.
Good old bottle tree.
Good old, I've got blue bottle trees. I've got multicolored bottle trees. One of my favorite is all green bottles. It looks so good. It doesn't look like a bottle tree. When it gets about 3 inches of snow on the top of those bottles, it is a thing to behold, and I never worry about, I worry about hurricanes, but I don't worry about snow and ice. So anyway, you got to have a light attitude about some of this because there's so much weird stuff and so much serious stuff going on in the world. You know, the garden is a place where we need to minimize those kind of gambles. And that's what I do. I like to have a little bit of fun and have some stuff that can take the cold and still make me smile.
Yeah. So, let's go ahead and get into this break, Felder. We got some YouTube chat comments when we come back.
Okay, and folks, if you want to give us a call, it is toll-free, 1-877-MPB-RING. I'm still in northern England. There's a chance I may be coming home this week to take care of some stuff, particularly my garden and my shack. But right now, it's cold where I am, but nowhere near what we're going to get in Mississippi. So anyway, give us a call. We'll talk it through. Stick with us, folks. We'll be back here, me and Java and all the folks at Mississippi Public Broadcasting, right after this. Stay warm.
At the Mississippi Arts and Entertainment Experience in Meridian, we believe in the power of the arts, storytelling, and education, just like Mississippi Public Broadcasting. MPB connects communities across the state with quality programs that inform, inspire, and engage. Their audience is loyal and appreciative of businesses that support public broadcasting. which makes underwriting on MPB a smart investment. Join us in supporting MPB. Learn more at mpbfoundation.org.
Hatred destroys the one who hates. The others that you have hated, go on about their business. Care of us.
So the legacy of Medgar Evers is an understanding of our own humanity and of our own responsibility of seeing that in other people.
He is written out of history. He's just not included as Malcolm and Martin. To me, it's the 3 M's, and Medgar's right up there at the lead.
Everlasting, Life and Legacy of Medgar Evers. Watch now on MPB Passport. Visit mpbonline.org for more.
School choice, rural hospitals, voter access. The 2026 Mississippi Legislature will impact you and your family for years to come. MPB brings you At Issue, a weekly analysis of the legislative session and the issues affecting you with perspectives from both sides of the aisle. Brandon Jones and new At Issue analyst Rebecca Staples join me, Wilson Stribling, every Monday at 5 p.m. only on MPB Think Radio and wherever you get your podcasts. MPB, your stories, our mission.
All right, folks, welcome back. Horticulturalist Felder Rushing, and we're talking about gardening. I know it's a weird thing to be talking about this almost end of January with the kind of weird weather coming up, but we garden year round. A lot of people are pining for spring, or they miss the summer. Back in the summer, they didn't give it anything for weather like we've had this past week, but nobody wants the kind of weather that we're going to start having, at least most of Mississippi, this coming week. It's going to be rough. And I've got plenty of things we can talk about, you can do, some things you really don't need to worry about, which should be a relief to some folks. But if you've got some things you'd like to talk about, give us a call. It's toll-free, 1-877-MPB-RING. So, John, you say we got some folks on the live stream who sent in some questions?
Yeah, we got some questions and some good ones, too. And, of course, you know, about the freezes. Starbama, who's joining us from Fairhope, Alabama, asks, should I cover my kumquat in Fairhope, also my, I guess it's a Fuyu persimmon?
Yeah, the Fuyu is a type of Japanese persimmon. Fuyus are cold hardy even up in Tennessee, so it should not bother them. The kumquat, if it's in the ground, if it's small and you can cover it, you might want to, because, again, the kumquat plant itself can take down to 20 degrees easily, sometimes even lower. But they tend to bloom in the late winter and the spring, and you may want to cover them up. If it's going to get down below the mid-20s, you may want to cover them up at least temporarily. Make sure that the covers go all the way to the ground, though. That's really important. We're not trying to keep cold wind off entirely. We're trying to trap heat rising from the ground beneath. But if it's in a pot, I'd bring it in. But anyway, if you can cover it, it wouldn't come amiss.
And lastly, from the same person in Fairhope, what about her or him? I don't know who it is. What about sugar snap vines?
Yeah, they shouldn't be out there.
They should be inside.
No, the sugar pea, the snap pea type things, those edible pod peas, English type peas, lettuces, turnips, things like that. They're not winter plants. People plant them in the winter. They plant them in the fall, and sometimes they make it. But these plants, they don't like hot weather. They don't like freezing weather. So if you've got sugar pea type plants, if you can cover them, throw some visqueen over them or something like that all over the ground, that'd be good. But just keep in mind that most of the people who grow edible pod and English type peas and lettuces, they don't grow them in late December, January, February. They grow from February to April or May. And they grow from late September, October to November and early December. But wintertime, there's not a lot of vegetables that tolerate that really, really do well when we have sudden hard freeze. It might have to cover them up. That's all I'm saying.
Now, I think you mentioned it before, but somebody entered the chat. I love this name. What in the Helen is the name? And asked a question, I think, about covering plants. And even on the coast for camellias, mine are finally blooming.
Yeah, camellias are likely to freeze. The flowers are likely to freeze. Matter of fact, I've got a picture here. Let's see if we can show this. Where's my list of pictures already? Here we go. Picture number 4, as a matter of fact, is one I have ready queued up. This is what camellias look like 2 years ago. I was here in Mississippi, and this is what they looked like the day after a hard freeze. They hadn't turned brown yet, but all the pictures, all the camellias in this picture were in full bloom when we had a hard freeze, and they all turned brown. I'm from North Mississippi originally. I'm used to camellias freezing in January, February. This is sort of part of it. They're not native to here, so it's always going to be a gamble with them. What I would do is could if you can't cover the plants with camellias, snip a few off and put them in a vase, bring them indoors, enjoy them as a cut flower. But there's no sense in fretting about it because it's hard winter, and camellias are from a temperate part of Japan and China. They'll take cold weather, but they won't take sudden hard freezes like we're having. So if you can't cover them up, the worst that's going to happen, you're going to lose some flowers. Take some pictures, get you some cut flowers, bring them indoors.
Now, I do have a question, and it's kind of what the Helen asked it as well. I love that name. But if they're too big to cover, like if a plant is too big to cover or a tree is too big, what about wrapping their bases to protect is that okay?
Most plants are not going to have a problem with that. Very few plants, what I call normal plants that we're used to planting, azaleas, sometimes their bark will bust, but it's going to be above anything you would cover. So in general, if it's a plant that's normally grown, if you see it all around town, it's been there for a long time, I wouldn't worry about it. We've got plenty of moisture in the ground. There's plenty of moisture. So there's really not much that you need to worry about there. Mulching the roots will help a little bit, but usually when the bark busts on a plant, it's a foot or so or even more above there, so not much you can do about that. If it's a normal plant, I wouldn't worry about it. You may lose some. I lose some. They lose them in botanic gardens. But in general, most of the regular garden plants will do just fine. If it gets down to the single digits, that's really, really bad. But most of the plants we got can take down the teens.
Okay. One more question from the YouTube chat. And as always, if you have a question, you can drop it in the YouTube chat or give us a phone call, 1-877-MPB-RING. That's 1-877-672-7464. But from Theodore, Alabama, we have Antonio joining the chat and asks, will covering my veggie garden with kale and broccoli protect them over the freeze?
Yeah, the kales do not need freeze. Kale will grow outside in Kentucky. Kale is not going to freeze. Collards and kales are fine. Broccoli really shouldn't be out there right now, but on the coast, it's going to be a gamble. I would definitely cover those. And I'm going to be talking a little bit more about that the next hour about ways you can cover it. But in general, you want to put sticks out there and put something on top of the stick, like a plastic bottle or anything, and then drape plastic over that to create a tent so it's not actually set on the plant. You don't want the plastic touching the plant if you can help it. Have it go all the way to the ground. So push some stakes out there, slip something over the top so it doesn't snag your plastic, and then just make a tent all the way to the ground over the whole thing. Now get this. If the sun comes out, which it will, and you got that covering on there, that can steam a plant. So it's really important if it's going to be in the upper 20s or 30s and the sun comes out, to open it, to vent it, to let some of that heat out. Otherwise, it's like keeping a dog in a car with the rolled up windows. You want to vent it when the sun comes out, keep it from overheating.
Yeah, you don't want to have the dog in the car with the rolled up windows.
No, well, same thing with broccoli and covered up with plastic. I hate to, not to be, to compare them, but it's the same sort of thing. So anyway, hey, let me show one other picture before we go into our break. Picture number 5 is a plant it's an old-fashioned plant. A lot of people don't plant them because they're not commonly sold in garden centers. Well, this is a shrub that will bloom in Tennessee. In St. Louis, it blooms it never fails to flower, and freeze doesn't affect it. This is called flowering quince, not the quince like we make jelly with. This is a small to medium-sized shrub, always blooms in the wintertime. It's just not bothered by cold at all. So if you're tired of losing stuff, start looking at some of these old-fashioned plants. They are available. And if you ask for them in garden centers, they can get them for you. So the more people plant these, the more people are going to see them, the more people are going to plant them, the fewer people are going to worry about what's going to happen to the plants, because these plants like cold weather. Flowering quince, that's a really good one.
Now, this may be a silly question. do they come in any other colors?
Oh yeah, they do. This is a sort of a, I call it red, but it's not red. It's not I don't even know what color. I don't know my Crayola crayons very well, but it's a reddish color. They come in white. They come in pink. They come in mostly whites and pinks. There's some that are the flowers have two tones to them, but mostly you can see the red, the pink, and the whites. Dead of winter, and they don't look like the rest of the year. It's a forget. Don't even forget the shrub. The winter in the summertime, it doesn't look like anything at all. You're not going to notice it. But sometimes they'll have little small hard fruits on them, which is kind of nice. But the main thing in the middle of the winter, we have flowers that like wintertime. Just no other two ways about it.
Now, Felder, for this cheesy tune break, because we were right here at the middle of the first hour, I wanted to see what you want to get into.
What, you mean music-wise?
Yeah, it's we got to take our halfway break.
Oh yeah. Well, there's this fellow, and I can't remember his name right now. Anyway, he does a lot of quirky weather type stuff. His name is Matt Farley. He calls himself the Great Weather Song Person, and he has really short little ditties, weather-related stuff. And what I did was I sort of did a mashup between it and a kind of a is a hip hop song, Ice Ice Baby. What type of music is that?
We would categorize it as a hip hop song.
Okay, yes. Oh, you just cutting me some slack, right?
A little bit, because it's Vanilla Ice.
Whatever, Felder. Whatever. Yeah, that'll do, Felder. But anyway, it's just a little light thing, but we're going to take a break and we can come back with more. Got the lines wide open, so if you want to give us a call and talk about what's going on or not in your garden, it's not all doom and gloom out there. Let's give it a call. Let's talk about it. Me and Jav and all the other folks here at MPB, we're glad you're tuning in to us and listening and chatting with us. So if you got some things you'd like to call about or on the live stream, shoot us some stuff to talk about. We'll be right back with more on the Gestalt Gardener right after this.
Hi, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Bobby Rush. As a blues man, I love Mississippi Public Broadcasting. If you support Mississippi music and their local programming, donate now, right now, and become a member today, not tomorrow. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Doesn't matter how big or small, but we prefer big. Thank you very much.
Together through the years, together in the future. MPB, your stories, our mission.
Mississippi is a place of deep roots where every story matters and every voice can be heard. At MPB, we stand with our local communities, bringing you the voices of those who shape our state through local programming that reflects our culture across small towns to big cities, from the Delta to the coast. We tell the stories that define us, from the music that carries our voices to the leaders who inspire change. MPB brings you the heart of Mississippi, celebrating Mississippi one story at a time. MPB, your stories, our mission.
The Measuring Show.
Since 1970, MPB has been enriching the lives of Mississippians.
Everything we do gives us the chance to grow and learn.
With your support, we are always there whenever and wherever you need us. Together through the years, together in the future. Please consider making a donation at mpbfoundation.org. MPB, your stories, our mission.
dokie, folks. Welcome back. Me and Java Chapman, horticulturalist Felder Rushing. We're here to talk with you about what's going on in your garden. By the way, Java, I came across a good quote that we can think of. It said, "It's officially, once I'm home, I ain't coming back out week." But I think that's what it's going to be like. I'm afraid that's what it could be like.
Exactly.
By the way, who are our live stream producers today?
Oh, we got the all-stars. We got John C., we got Abram, and Marissa is even on the phones.
All righty, that's great. That's great. I would like to mention, folks, in a couple of weeks, on the January 30th, 31st, and February the 1st, the Gulf Coast Orchid Society is going to have its show and plant sale. It's Friday, Saturday, and 30th, 30, whatever. Let me see what it is. See if 30th is Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. It's going to be at the Gaucher Convention Center down the coast. It's going to be really, really interesting. I wish I could be there. A lot of folks interested in orchids. They're not all fussy. There's some orchids that really do quite well in ordinary home settings. So if you might want to, if you need to perk your spirits up, nothing like going down to visit an orchid show. Again, that's January 30th, 31st, and February the 1st at the Gaucher Convention Center down on the coast. I did have one other quote here, Java. See if I can find it. Oh, no. I got a pun for Kevin. Is Kevin in today?
No, he's not in today, but of course, he will give you the thumbs up or the thumbs down when he hears it.
Well, I found one that's weather related. It said, "I found a dollar bill stuck in the ice. It was cold, hard cash."
But
I know that is snow laughing matter.
I would say stop, but I want to see if you have another one.
Oh, I do, but I've got to save them. So, are we got any callers?
No, but the YouTube chat is vibrant this morning. So, I want to say good morning to Debbie, and Debbie has a comment. Greetings, Debbie from Rankin County, and we have Jubilee gardenias planted. We planted Jubilee gardenias in October. Do we need to cover them?
My coffee went down the wrong hole, Java.
Uh-oh.
Oh, well, that happens. Gardenias are normally cold hardy, but we often see some that get winter damage. Here, if you can cover them, if they're small enough to cover, I think I would, because this is a sudden hard freeze, and those are new plants. So if you could cover them up at least during the coldest part, it gets up in the upper 20s, would not worry about it. But if it gets down to the lower 20s and the teens, I cover them up at least temporarily. Keep in mind, and we'll talk about this more next week, because after this freeze passes, we can tell better what kind of damage. The worst that can happen to gardenias and azaleas and a few other borderline plants is the bark splits. And you can check for that. And people say, well, I don't know what to look. It'll be really, really obvious. I'll show a picture next week, but the bark down closer to the ground would just be split, and you can peel it off. It can kill a plant, but if it happens, you can prune it below the split, and it won't die. It'll sprout back out and grow faster than ever. So we'll talk about that next week. But small plants like gardenias, I think I'd cover them up.
Okay. Well, we're still waiting on a few phone calls. Like I said, the YouTube chat is always open. So if you want to be like Debbie and What in the Helen and other YouTube watchers, you can drop your comment or question in the chat. But also, if you want to join the show via phone, 1-877-MPB ring. That's 1-877-672-7464.
By the way, Java, a couple of weeks ago, I had a pot full of daffodil bulbs that I just planted in water, and they just had some leaves on them. I'm going to gamble and see if you can see this. Can you see the roots on them?
I see the yellow pot with well, not anymore.
Okay, look at this.
Now see the yellow tops, yeah.
Yeah, I know it's kind of weird. But look, notice how this has two flowers side by side. This is called tete-a-tete daffodil. You can see why it's called that. It has two small cup yellow daffodils per stem. But anyway, tete-a-tete is a great one for not only forcing indoors in pots, but it grows outdoors really, really well. It's one of the, usually they don't get this tall. Mine are tall and leggy because they've been indoors. But if you put them in the landscape, they only get about 6 or 8 inches, maybe 9 inches tall. They're small, they're petite. They come back, and every tete-a-tete that you plant, every bulb you plant, next year will be 2 or 3, and then they multiply and they bloom every year. So tete-a-tete is a really good one for both indoors and for outdoors. They typically bloom after hard freeze, so I've never had mine freeze, ever. I'm worried a little bit about some of my paper whites, maybe some of the early jonquils, because a hard sudden freeze can get them. Won't kill the plants, but it can really booger up the flowers. So not much we can do. This is wintertime. It's when I say fickle winter, this is what I'm talking about. Fickle winters. Can't really say it's going to get cold. It won't stay cold if it does, and that causes some problems. Did have another good quote. This is a quote from John Steinbeck. What good is a warmth of summer without the cold of winter to give it sweetness? Warm summer doesn't mean as much if you don't have a cold winter to help appreciate it, Java.
Well, I really want to say I appreciate our next caller.
Who we got? What's up?
No, this is Tom in Hattiesburg, and he wants to join the show.
Morning, Tom. Thanks for calling. What's up, guy?
Yeah. I've got a bunch of bare root pawpaw trees that I started from seed, and over the years I've planted pawpaw bare root trees a number of times without much success. And every week you talk about planting things from pots, but what's your idea about the best way to deal with bare root trees?
Well, when you say bare root, you're growing them and then you dig them up and replant them without any dirt on them? Or are they growing it? What do you mean bare root?
Well, what I do is I take 3 or 4 5-gallon buckets. I put drainage trees in one, and then I cut the bottoms out of the others, and then I stack those up to about 2 feet and fill them full of soil and and so now pretty soon I'm going to knock all the dirt out, turn the pots over, knock the dirt out, and then I'll have bare root pawpaw trees with roots almost 2 feet long.
Yeah. That's a little bit long, if you plant the same seeds in really good, well-drained, good pawpaw dirt and compare them, the ones growing all the time in real dirt probably going to have roots 6 to 8 inches, maybe a foot deep, but they'll be wide. Growing them in containers, the roots mostly get more fibers, grow straight down. So what I would do, and I've planted a lot of bare root trees, you want to plant them when they're fairly young, not more than a year or 2, maybe 3 years old. You want to make sure when you remove the soil that you plant them almost immediately. It only takes a couple of 3-4 minutes for those roots exposed to air to dry out and die. So it's really important to maybe soak them in, take the soil off, put them in a bucket of water or something, and then pull them out and plant them one at a time, so they're not just laying out in the sun and the air. Also, I think I'd want to spread those roots out a little bit rather than grow down. When you put them in the ground, bare root plants, and whether grown in containers or bare root, there's a little area between the top of the roots and the bottom of what I call the bark area. It's the collar of the tree. You don't want to plant it too deep. So see if you can sort of see where, if it were growing out in the wild, where it would normally come out of the ground, and don't bury it even an inch or 2 deeper than that. You might even want to add enough, kind of plant a little low mound to allow for settling, but planting too deep can be a problem. Not spreading those roots out can be a problem. It also, letting the roots dry out too fast, that could be a problem. So that's the main thing. Work fast, have your holes already dug, spread the roots out, try not to plant them too deep. And do it in the wintertime while they're dormant.
Yeah, I'm going to do it here in the next few weeks.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks a lot.
Okay, let me ask you this, though. When you're growing pawpaws, have you ever grown one from seed to maturity?
No, I've grown some from seed to they were maybe 3 or 4 feet high. That's the furthest I've got with that.
The reason I'm saying, because trees that are grown from seed go through a juvenile phase just like we do. We go through the juvenile, adolescent, and then maturity, and it can take fruiting trees anywhere from 5 to 7 or more years to get from seed to fruiting maturity. So put them where you can let them hang on for the longest. It's going to take at least 4 or 5 years for them to get large enough to begin flowering and having fruit. One last thing, and this is a really oddball thing. I wish there weren't any oddball horticulture things, but every now and then there's a weird little fact. Pawpaws do best the first year or two in the shade. They naturally grow on the woodland edge. If you grow them out in the broiling hot sun, they can do, but they'll suffer a little bit. So I don't know any way around that. So the main thing is make sure they don't stay really, really hot and dry the first summer or two, because their big leaves are extra sensitive to sunburn, just when they're young.
Right. All righty. Thanks a lot.
You bet. Java, it's more than anybody ever needs to know about pawpaws. Although I will mention this is an oddball fact. I can dig deep here, but pawpaws have a kind of a maroon flower right about just before and when the leaves first start forming. So a nice size, golf ball size, kind of a burgundy maroon flower, more rusty red. Anyway, they're pollinated by beetles, not by beetles and flies. It's a stupid thing to know, but it's a beetle so you can have pawpaws and flowering. They may not ever make pawpaws because they don't have the right kind of pollinators out there. That's a really stupid thing. I wish I hadn't even said it.
Yeah, but it's something to know, Felder. It's something to know, man.
I guess. So how we doing with phone calls?
We're still waiting on some phone calls. Marissa is over there twiddling her thumbs. So
Okay,
1-877 MPB ring 1-877-672-7464.
There you go. And let me show a picture. Give them something to do. Picture number 5 I brought in. This is I'm sorry, not picture number 5. Picture number 6. This is a close-up of a type of little trailing plant. It's a type of succulent. It's called sedum, sedum. A lot of different kind of sedums out there. The trailing kind of sedums, this picture got ice on. This is my garden last year. Trailing sedums will grow outside in Michigan and Minnesota. They will not freeze. They have pretty little flowers, usually yellow. We think of one that's called, country folks call it thrift or moss, but it's a kind of a yellow trailing sedum. It had real pretty yellow flowers in the spring. Some have burgundy flowers or red flowers or yellow flower, white flowers. But the trailing sedums are perfectly hardy outdoors all year. They don't need any water. They don't need any covering. They're just really, really good during plants. But I want to show another one, picture number 7. This is another hardy succulent that a lot of people have seen. They don't really know about it, or if they know about it, they don't trust it. This is the type of plant. Up north, they call it hen and chicks. The plant we call hen and chicks down here kind of gray-green leaves, and the leaves fall off to grow new little plants. That's the reason it's called hen and chicks. Well, this is called sempervivum. Sempervivum, or a leaf of life.
It's pretty. Sempervivum is pretty, Felder.
they come in blues. They come in all different color foliage and all. But this plant will grow literally on a tombstone in upstate New York. I took a picture this past a year ago. I was giving a lecture up in Rochester, New York. They took me to a cemetery because I want to see hardy plants. And this is a plant that absolutely will not freeze. You can put it in a pot, set it outside, walk away from it, and it blooms, it multiplies, it spreads. We don't really see much of it. And when people find it, it looks like it can't possibly take any cold. So they bring it indoors. But sempervivums, hardy sempervivums are terrific outdoor plants for interesting tabletop. You know, if you've got a patio table, make it a little bouquet, a little combination of different kinds of sedums, sempervivums, a few plants like that. And it can look good even with snow and ice on them. So I just want to mention, we have some unusual plants that like it in the wintertime that you don't have to cover up. So it's not going to help ease our pain about our peach trees and blueberries being in full bloom, because the blueberries blooming, they're going to lose this year's fruit. That's all it is to it. Just get over, live with it, and nothing we can do about it. Cover up a little bush if you want to, but it only helps down to the lower 20s. But meanwhile, if you really like gardening year-round, we have some good plants that like it outside and are not bothered by this weather. That's my whole point there. Not trying to preach here, Java, but trying to urge people to expand your horizon a little bit.
Well, let's see if we can Oh no, you may want to preach to John from Holly Springs, because John, he wants to join the show this morning.
What's up, John? Man, you're up in the ice box. It's gonna get cold this weekend.
Man, I know we're bracing for it right now. So
it actually looks like it's not. You might get more snow. It looks like Jackson is going to get the ice. You might get more snow, which is not actually snow will insulate plants against cold.
Yeah, and I'm not hoping for ice for anybody, but I'm hoping for not ice for us for sure.
There you go. What's going on with you? What's up?
So I've got a pretty small, I guess you can call it an orchard, a couple of fruit trees planted, and they're about a year in the ground. Maybe they're anywhere from 5 to 9 feet tall. And so I'm looking to prune them, to shape them, and I was doing some research on it, and I read that for apple trees and pear trees and things like that, to prune them in their dormancy in the winter. But for other things like plums, maybe do them in the summer. And I was wondering if there was any truth to that.
No, there's not. There's up in North Mississippi, we have some really good peach and plum growers. Not many, because peaches and plums have so much trouble with insects and diseases. It's hard to grow them commercially in Mississippi. But they're pruned in the wintertime. They're pruned in the winter. Okay. Now, if you're growing them because you more than just fruit, it's okay to prune them after they bloom and enjoy their flowers. But the problem is, once they flower, they start putting on leaves, and your heart gets all soft, and you don't want to prune them. But if you're going to prune them anyway, wintertime is perfectly fine. But if you want to let them flower first, as long as that doesn't put you off, you can go ahead and let them flower and then prune them just to enjoy the flowers. But in general, most fruit trees, figs, peaches, plums, pears, apples, they're pruned in the wintertime. And have you pruned yours at all? Did you prune them when you set them out?
Yes, yeah, a little bit, yeah.
Okay, the reason I'm saying, because peaches and plums are pruned a little different from apples and pears, but not a whole lot different. It's really important to cut the center part out of them so they have several branches growing out and up rather than straight up like a pine tree. Cut the center of it out, and then any of the little twigs or branches growing inward, cut them off. Now, don't leave any stubs. Whatever you cut it right where it sprouts out. Don't leave any stubs. But if you'll thin out the tall stuff, and then the clutter stuff that's growing inward, even the little twigs, cut all that out. So what's left is just looks like a hat rack. It looks like deer antlers. That's what I'm thinking about. Okay. Deer antlers. And then if you still have some stuff that's really, really tall, whatever grew last year, you can cut that back a good bit. But the main thing is thin out the tall center stuff, thin out the clutter, and then if there's any stuff that's real left, go ahead and cut them back. I send pictures all the time of fruit orchards that are pruned, and I would say that most fruit growers, commercial fruit growers, almost all the expense, the number one expense they have in producing fruit is the labor required to prune in the wintertime. That's the number one thing fruit growers do. Home gardeners rarely do it, and it's a mistake. So be brutal.
Okay. All right. Great. Well, thank you so much.
Okay. So good luck on the snow and ice.
Thank you.
And by the way, Java, I've got some things I'm going to show in the next hour, some ways that I cover plants in my own garden. I've got some tips about if you've got water gardens, bird baths, things like that. We're going to touch on that. So we're not done talking about what you can do to get ready for this cold weather that's coming. But I'd like to encourage folks also to think about if you've got some fruit trees, wintertime is the best time to prune them. Just thin out the clutter, thin out the tall stuff, thin out the clutter. And there's no two trees going to look alike, but they're all done the same. Thin out the tall stuff, thin out the clutter. And that's just a real root, and it applies again to figs. I cut my figs back every winter, cut them back. Whatever grew last year, I'm cutting it back to a half or a third of whatever grew last year. And I end up with more twigs, more figs, more compact plant I can pick easily. It is important to prune. So there's that.
All right, Felder, I was trying to read this latest YouTube comment because of course everybody's worried about the freeze and which plant, and you've said it throughout this hour, and I know you're going to continue in the next hour. Some plants need covering, some plants kind of don't. But we have one from Rita, and it says, "Greetings from DeSoto County. Felder, I have small rose Canthea plants close together. Do you think I need to cover with the pot?"
Okay, what spell that second one? I got the rose. What spell the second one?
C-A-N. Wait, let me pull the screen close so I can make sure I'm saying it right. Canthia. Canthea? Oh, maybe I'm pronouncing it wrong. I don't know.
C-A-N what?
Thia.
Canthea.
Canthea, rose Canthea.
I don't even know what that is. I don't even know what that is. But roses don't need pruning. I wonder if it's rose campion, C-A-M-P-I-O-N.
Well, when I typed it in, it maybe thought I was, like if I typed it into Google, it was thinking I was typing in rose Cynthia.
I don't know. I don't know. The closest I can think is rose campion, and it does not need covering. But I don't know. Don't know.
Okay.
She needs to write back and spell. Make sure because she might be spelling it the way it sounds to her.
Yeah. So and Rita, I will say I apologize because I don't know at all.
Well, not only that, but you're one of them young things, Java. Y'all think stuff and it works. We have to figure stuff out and type it in with our fingers.
Well, it happens. Also, man, this is the first time we've had to do this since we've gone to 2 hours, Felder. Paul from Georgia, I want you to hold on, and we'll get to you in the next hour. Paul from Georgia is on the line, and we're going to have to take you in hour number 2.
Okay, and by the way, folks who are listening, if you're watching on the live stream, when everybody else listens to the news, I'm going to share a little special stuff just for live stream folks. And if you want to know what it is, sometime go to YouTube or MPB and check out the Gestalt Gardener, and you too can find the kind of stuff that I only share with people who are paying attention between the 2 hours. So what's the time like, John? We're almost at the end of our hour?
Yeah, we're here. We got about 15 seconds, and then we got to go.
Okay, well, I'd like to thank everybody who's tuned in the first hour. Second hour, we're going to cover some of the same, but more detail and your calls. I know a lot of you got stuff to talk about, so stick with us, folks. Me and Java Chapman and all the other folks at Mississippi Public Broadcasting, we're glad to be with you right before all this weird cold weather. So stick with us, folks. We'll be back right at the top of the hour talking more about what's going on in your Mississippi garden. Stick with us, folks. We'll be right back. All righty, welcome back. Thanks for joining us on the live stream. Folks who are listening on the regular radio, they're just hearing some news and all right now, which is important. But this is a little special thing for those of you who like to spend a little time, with us here. I got a little bit of, I don't know if you can hear the music, the news coming in Java or not. Anyway, can you hear me okay now? Okay, sorry about that. Java and I are still this 2-hour thing. We're trying to figure it out. But anyway, this past week I'm in Northern England. I went to Liverpool. I'm a member of the Royal Horticultural Society. We have special little events scattered around the country, around England and Great Britain. And last night I went to a special event in Liverpool. It's put on by a local botanical garden, sponsored by the Royal Horticultural Society. It was about connections between people and plants and the importance of sharing plants with other people, taking kids to a garden, showing kids how to take pictures of flowers, things like that, sharing memories with people about stuff. And one of the things I thought was really interesting, they had a series of pictures where they showed a distant shot of like a tree and a street scene, a tree and a bus stop, and somebody standing between the two. And then they show a close-up of the person standing next to the tree. And then they show a real close-up of the bark of the tree. They show 3 different perspectives of the same scene. And we're the important thing. We're in between the distant shot and the close-up shot. We're somewhere in between. Anyway, there was a real interesting poem I saw. This is written by Sue Lewis. She's a participant in this thing called Flashes of Inspiration. It's a poem about life from a tree's perspective. And the name of the poem is It Just Me? I thought I'd like to share with you. And think about an old tree just standing out by itself, in town, out in the country, whatever, by a bus stop. Think about what the tree must be thinking. Here's this poem. Is it just me, traumatized? 30 years on, I still feel the same. Colors from green to red and gold finally falling to the ground. Checking each dawn to see how bare I become. It's like a recurring bad dream. Running naked through the center of a familiar town. Get a grip, I tell myself. But wait, what's this? Birds mating. It must be spring. Green shoots on my boughs, a fur-coated bumblebee. Nature has had its rest period. I feel the energy and excitement rising. Spring, buds, insects, butterflies. It's catching. I want to scream and shout. This is what my life is all about. Can't wait for picnics beneath my shade or shelter from the rain, courting couples, families, babes in arms, eavesdropping on hushed conversations, gossip, words of anger or love. The season ends too quickly. The young birds have fledged. The picnics are rarer. Families fewer. Leaves turning, ready for the storms to blow them away. But this time I'm ready, for my strength is sapped, looking forward to the rest period, reserving my energy, new growth, thankful for being alive. This is what it's all about. I just thought that was a little oddball thing, looking at life from the perspective of a tree through all the different seasons and how we go through the same thing sometimes. Anyway, I thought I'd share that little special thing with folks who are watching on the live stream. I hope you appreciate it. And if you've got some inspiration, things like that you'd like me to share, send them to me. Me and Java, we always appreciate input from inspired listeners, inspired participants. So if you want to send us something, you can do it to garden@mpbonline.org or to my blog, felderrushing.blog. Has little things to email me. We'd be glad to respond to it. So anyway, for the next hour, we're going to be talking about stuff, a little bit of what we talked about earlier, my little tete-a-tete daffodils that are blooming, little tete-a-tete things. But I have them indoors because I can't stand to see them outdoors. All this cold weather's coming up. But don't worry about the cold weather. We'll get through it. There'll be plenty still going. Spring will still get here. Matter of fact, we still got quite a bit of real interesting winter ahead of us. I'm looking forward to sharing some of that with you. So we're going to take another hour just to chat with you.
And Felder,
it is toll free, 1-877-MPB ring. If you're watching on live stream, tell some other folks about this so we can get the word out to gardening in Mississippi, even in the middle of the winter in the face of a storm. So that's what we're doing. How about that, Java? Hang on a second. I have my thing turned down. Okay, say that again. Okay. Yeah, I was getting a little feedback. Just want to let you know, one of those things.
All right, here we go.
All righty. Okie dokie, folks. Welcome to hour 2 of the Gestalt Gardener here on Mississippi Public Broadcasting. We're talking about gardening and garden-related stuff. That can be indoors as well. So if you've got some things going on you're worried about, some things you're not worried about, some things you'd like to try this year, some new things, or maybe something you tried last year that really worked well and you'd like to share it, or that you have frustrations about, want to ask about that. But it's all about gardening. The Gestalt Gardener means all things gardening. And Java, I like to give folks sometime an example, and they say, what do you mean Gestalt, the whole thing? I tell people, if you've ever gotten dirty fingernails and you scrubbed them so hard that your fingertips tingle, that's part of gardening too. It's part of gardening. Gardening is more of the journey. Horticulture is the destination, is the product. Gardening is a journey. And every little thing we do, every little bird that cheeps, every spring seed that comes up, every fruit you bite into, all these little things, that's part of gardening, and that's what the Gestalt Gardener is all about. So, Java, what you can do if your kids get stuck or get blessed to be at home next week during an ice storm?
Oh, man, we will cross that bridge when we get there.
I heard you. I've been there, I've done that. By the way, this is an oddball thing, but the National Gardening Association, of which National Gardening Bureau, which I was a member for a long time, has declared 2026 the year of the ficus.
Oh, wow. Okay.
You know what a ficus is?
It's a tough old bird.
No, could be. Yo, ficus, you.
No, give me the rundown. Give me the rundown.
Ficus is a genus of plants that are collectively called rubber plants. They're rubber trees. Plain old rubber tree we grow is a ficus. Weeping fig Ficus benjamina that people grow. There's a creeping fig, little creeping vine that grow in Mississippi. It's called creeping fig. Ficus are a member of subtropical and tropical plants that have milky sap. When you pluck the leaf off or when you prune it, they have milky sap, and that's what they make rubber out of. The old rubber tree, they made it out of the latex and the sap of the rubber tree. Anyway, this is the year of the ficus, and we'll get into that a little bit more next week when I have some pictures to show. But I had a rubber tree named Big Jim. I got Big Jim. Big Jim. You could park a school bus on a rubber tree. I think Swiss Family Robinson lived in a rubber tree. They get huge in the tropics, but usually they're just potted plants. I had one for 50 years named Big Jim. I got it in 1974. This is 2026. Big Jim died last year because I finally neglected it to death. But I had a rubber tree in a pot for almost half a century, and every now and then it got too big. I would just cut it back and it sprout back out. Nice big, like a piece of furniture. Sometimes I put it out in the shade tree in the summertime, but it's just an old friend I cared from my Navy days when I worked in a garden center part-time to my college days to moving all over the country and all. And Big Jim was just sort of like an old pet, but whenever I pruned him, he squirted this yellow white sticky rubbery sap all over everything. It makes my fingers sticky just thinking about it. Anyway, year of the ficus.
Well, that's all right there.
It's just oddball stuff. Gardening's got a lot of esoterica. And one of the things I like to talk about, Java, is things that gets discussed at my pub.
Wait, before we get into pub talk, I think you forgot about Paul hanging on the phone line. Been hanging on the phone for quite a while. we sorry about that, Paul.
Paul, I'm so sorry. My coffee kicked in. Man, I was just a mile a minute. Thanks for holding, Paul. What's up?
I'm the same way. The coffee gets me to talking in the mornings. So,
where are you calling from?
I'm in the process of, sir?
Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Americus, Georgia.
From where?
Americus, Georgia.
Okay, yeah, that's kind of on the borderline. Is that fairly close to the Alabama state line? I don't remember.
We're about 60 miles, but we're the same county as Plains, Georgia.
Yeah, I got you.
Where President Carter's from.
Yeah. So what you got going? You got pretty much the same climate we've got, a little bit better dirt, I think. But what you got going on?
I'm selling a rental house, and it's an older house. And at the edge of the property, there's some woods, and there's paper whites that come up there. And I'm literally digging them up this morning because I don't want to lose them, and the next people don't care about them. And I'm wondering a couple of things. Right now, they're sitting in a black plastic pot like you get from the smaller nurseries. And I'm just going to throw some dirt in there with them. Do I need to put them in the greenhouse, or are they okay outside with this heavy cold and then being moved? What's the ideal place for them next
Okay,
week
this is a good question. By the way, paper whites are, I'm not supposed to have a favorite flower. Being a horticulturist, is multi-horticulturalism here. But paper whites and the early yellow blooming jonquils are my favorite flower from my childhood. Real fragrant. Here's the deal. They bloom this time of year because they're early bloomers. They don't need much cold. Sometimes they'll actually bloom for Christmas. But because they bloom early, they make their next year's flower bud quickly. Here's the deal. What I'm getting at, if you want flowers next year, you've got to keep them green and growing for the next couple of months. They make their flower bud and new bulbs for next year after they finish blooming. So right now you dug them up right at a real tender time when they really need to not be disturbed at all if you can. So what I do is I put some dirt around them. I put them out in where they get some real sunshine. I'd water them really good. And if you need to tie their leaves up or they're flopping over, tie them up a little bit, because for the next 6 weeks or so, the energy that they get from those leaves goes down and makes next year's bulbs and flower buds. If you don't do that, they'll come back, but they'll probably skip a year blooming. So 2 things I want to share. If you can mark the ones that you want, and maybe even cut the flowers off and use them in the flowers so nobody sees them, if you can leave them alone until the leaves start to die down in a couple of months and go back and find your little sticker, your marker, and dig them up then, they will never skip a beat. They'll do great. So if you could leave them alone, even if it means snipping the flowers off so nobody else does it, that'd be better. But since you've already dug them, give them some dirt, put them where they get real sunshine on the leaves for the next till the leaves turn yellow and die down. That'd be real important.
Okay, and a couple of them I didn't dig deep enough, and I only got about half the little tube thing at the base. Will those make it, or just need to throw them out?
It's hard to say. I mean, I've sliced through so many bulbs. I mean, I was raised. My great grandmother had 350 different types of daffodils. She had 11 or 12 different types of paper whites, and I've sliced through so many bulbs. But sometimes they'll make it fine. So anyway. The ones that have still got leaves on them, give them sunshine. The rest of them, again, you might want to go back later and dig some when nobody's looking, dig something you missed. But I give them at least a couple of months. By the way, let me ask you this. I want to ask you this, Paul. Do they smell good to you, or do they smell like cat pee?
They smell good to me. I like them.
Okay. Well, take some of the flowers around.
I like them a lot.
Do us a little poll. Take some of the flowers around, get different people to smell them. It's amazing because about half the people who smell them think they smell real sweet. About half the people, they smell cat pee. I'm trying to be, I can't be polite about this. So anyway, it's just I like the way it smells. Some people are running out of the room.
Kind of similar.
Yeah. That's right. So anyway, I hope that helps. Basically, sunshine outdoors. They need cold weather, need sunshine for the next 6 or 8 weeks till the leaves die down. That's really important.
All right. Well, thank you for taking my call. I always enjoy your show.
You bet. Hey, if you get a chance, take a close-up picture of some of them and send them in to us, and I can tell you there's like a whole bunch of different types of paper whites, and I'm into antique bulbs. I can tell you the specific name of yours if you're interested.
Okay, because one of them is not a paper white, but it's more of a lime green, and I just thought, well, it looks interesting. I'm gonna dig it up too, so I don't only have a clue what it is.
Yeah, typically the paper whites can have multiple flowers per stem. and typically they'll be fragrant, but there are some that are yellow. Some they're not all white. So anyway, take a close-up picture. It's always good to, if you're rescuing a plant, because these are not wild plants. These came from somebody a long time ago. It's always interesting to know the real names. Be glad to help.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay, so stay warm. All righty, y'all. I've completely. Paul was so good to hang on.
Yeah, no, Paul was a good one. We appreciate you, Paul, and calling all the way from Georgia. You know, we get a lot of Alabama, but we skipped the state and went all the way to Georgia. Thank you for that.
Yeah, we appreciate it. I know that we also have listeners as far away as Seattle. You know, Denver.
Now, how does that convert? Seattle and Mississippi.
A lot of times it's people who were raised here and moved off.
Okay.
Or you know, maybe someone just think we talk funny or something. I don't know. But anyway, there's a lot of people who have roots in Mississippi. It's funny. I mentioned in the first hour that in between the hours that I gone to a special little flower show, sort of an inspirational show between people and plants. And it was in Liverpool. I live fairly close to Liverpool in England. And Liverpool is probably the Mississippi of England. It's laid back. People, they talk to you on the street. There's always music. There's always good food. But, you know, a lot of people in the Southeast came from this part of the world. It's sort of a shared culture when it comes to people sharing and laughing and swapping plants and things like that. It's so much different from the south of England, where they're more like what I call our New England. They're more like Boston, I guess. You know, not to cast aspersions, but just like there's difference in the north and the south and the east and the west United States, same thing even in England. And I'm glad to be in the south part, which is the north of England. If people who are listening and they've got British roots, they know exactly what I'm talking about.
You fit right in.
Yeah. What we got?
Well, we do, like I said, we have an active YouTube chat this morning, and I want to jump back to, remember we were trying to figure out the plant that Rita was asking about, a small rose. Now, we had Timothy in the chat try to help Rita, and he was saying
me. He's helping me too. Timothy's helping me too.
It sounds like now I have to really pull the computer screen close. Let's see. He was saying it sounds like Selena coronaria, a rose campion.
Yeah. Okay. Rose campion. Yes.
A tough as boots pass along.
That's right. Rose campion. It has another name. Well, anyway, it's an old-fashioned. It's a biennial plant. It has a little low rosette of leaves, kind of a gray-green looking leaf. Little bit, and then in the next year, it sends out these spikes with a little small. Sometimes they're red, sometimes they're pink, but it's an old-fashioned heirloom plant called Rose campion, and it does not need to be covered up. It grows in New Jersey. It'll be perfectly fine.
Okay.
What Rose campion does not like is staying really wet, and then the Delta being so flat. You know, she was calling from the Delta. If she got an area that stays a little wet, she might want to move them but they don't need covering up. No.
Okay. And then we have another question about, covering plants. Of course, this is on the top of everybody's mind. We have someone from, where are they calling? Where are they typing in from? From Arkansas. Yeah, typing in from Arkansas on the YouTube chat. And should we cover our tea olives and August beauty gardenias?
I wouldn't think so. Arkansas, depending on where they are, they're up in the Ozarks, well, and up in there, they might need covering up. But a lot of gardenia is perfectly hardy. If it's an old-fashioned kind like you see around town, it could probably make it, no problem. But again, it so much depends on not just what type of plant it is, but how it's grown. If it's exposed, if it's dry, they get more damage. We have plenty of rain, so the most important thing I'd say is to water plants before a hard freeze. But we've had plenty of rain, so I wouldn't worry about that. If you're worried about it and you can cover it up, go ahead and cover it up, but don't leave it covered up. Again, it's really important to uncover these plants when the sun comes out, because cold weather is fine. Freezing weather might damage them, but being under a hot, steamy greenhouse type thing when the sun comes out, that's not good. So, it wouldn't hurt to cover it up as long as you uncover it and the sun comes out.
All right. Now, before we go to our first break for this hour, let's go back to the phones and let's talk with Tom in Brandon.
Morning, Tom. What's up? Howdy.
Good morning, Felder. I'm just curious, for pansies that are in a pot, I've never worried about them before, but this looks like a pretty extended on and off freeze. Is there anything that needs to be done with pansies in the pot?
Usually not. Now, I grow a few pansies, but I grow mostly the smaller ones called violas. And violas are a lot more cold hardy. If the pansies are, if they're moist, if you've had rain or they got water, I wouldn't worry about it. But I would definitely, if nothing else, just if they're not sitting on the ground, sit them on the ground, maybe up against a house. We'll get a little protection, a little radiated heat. Normally, I wouldn't worry about pansies down to the mid-teens, but sometimes they do get damaged. The violas don't, but sometimes the pansies do. It wouldn't, you could also just throw a trash bag over them, all the way to the ground. That might help. But as long as they're wet, I think they could do okay. If they're out exposed, sitting up on a table, I'd put them down on the ground. Other than that, I wouldn't worry too much about them.
Okay. I appreciate your help.
All right. Thanks for calling. Java, I've got, I know we're coming up for a break, and I've got some pictures of some of the ways that I cover my plants up, and also how to treat bird baths and water gardens and stuff like that. So we got plenty of stuff I can talk about, but I want other folks to call. That's what we're here for.
Well, we are about to take our break. We have Rebecca in South Haven who's on the phone, so please hold. We'll get to you when we come back. And like I said, we have an active YouTube chat, so I got a couple more comments to get through. And I know you got some pictures and stuff, so we're rocking and rolling, man.
All righty. Well, we're going to take a little bit of a break, me and Java, and get my notes. I got all these notes, and some of them got printed out twice. I'm having to go through it. This is new, having to print stuff out because I can't remember all this stuff. Thank you, Timothy, for helping us out with the Rose Camping, but I think you're a spot-on friend. But anyway, we're going to take a little bit of a break and come back and talk with more about what's going on or not in your garden here on Mississippi Public Broadcasting right after this.
At the Mississippi Arts and Entertainment Experience in Meridian, we believe in the power of the arts, storytelling, and education, just like Mississippi Public Broadcasting. MPB connects communities across the state with quality programs that inform, inspire, and engage. Their audience is loyal and appreciative of businesses that support public broadcasting, which makes underwriting on MPB a smart investment. Join us in supporting MPB. Learn more at mpbfoundation.org.
Hatred destroys the one who hates. The others that you hated, go on about their business. Care of us.
So the legacy of Medgar Evers is an understanding of our own humanity and of our own responsibility of seeing that in other people.
He is written out of history. He's just not included as Malcolm and Martin. To me, it's the 3 M's, and Medgar's right up there at the lead.
Everlasting, Life and Legacy of Medgar Evers. Watch now on MPB Passport. Visit mpbonline.org for more.
School choice, rural hospitals, voter access. The 2026 Mississippi Legislature will impact you and your family for years to come. MPB brings you At Issue, a weekly analysis of the legislative session and the issues affecting you with perspectives from both sides of the aisle. Brandon Jones and new At Issue analyst Rebecca Staples join me, Wilson Stribling, every Monday at 5 p.m. only on MPB Think Radio and wherever you get your podcasts. MPB, your stories, our mission.
All righty, welcome back, folks. Horticulturalist Felder Rushing. And Java, you asked in the first hour if people need to worry about booglify. And I said, no, them that's going to booglify is already booglify, which just means like cannas and bananas and elephant ear just melting down with the frost. Well, I forgot about one plant in particular. I'm going to hold this up. I don't know if it'll show.
I can see the booglification just a little bit.
Yeah, how black and wilted and nasty it is.
Oh yeah, it's gone.
Okay, well, this is a basil plant that I had put in the window to kind of keep, because basil won't grow outside in the winter. So I had a nice basil plant in a pot indoors, so I can have some fresh basil. When I make tomato soup and spaghetti and stuff like that. Well, it got cold here, and so I closed the curtains. and the basil plant was between the curtain and the window, and it booglified indoors because if the window radiated the cold and it got caught between it and the curtains. So I booglified a plant by keeping it too close to the window in the wintertime. So folks, if you've got tender plants like coleus or African violets and they're in a windowsill, pull them back from the window because that sucks a lot of heat and your plants can get winter damage even indoors if you got it right, or just outside of too close to a window. Live and learn, eh?
There you go. Now let's go to Rebecca in South Haven.
South Haven. Right?
Good morning, Felder.
Good morning. How are you?
Doing good. Really enjoying the second hour. I never could call you when you cut off at 10 o'clock. But this December, I redid my front flower bed, and I put in kaleidoscope abelias and limelight hydrangeas. And I've been watering it every week, unless it was raining. I've come up with Water Wednesday, and I've got mulch all around on the ground.
Wait. Water Wednesday?
Yes, because I can't remember when I watered last. So,
I love it.
And particularly for indoor plants, I'm like, when did I water? Okay, I got to water on Wednesday because it's Water Wednesday.
Right.
I love it. But do you think they'll survive? This is more a fortune teller question than a horticulture question, I guess.
No, they'll survive the weather. I don't know if they'll survive Water Wednesday. You're talking about plants that will grow in a cemetery. You don't have to water these things every. When I put stuff out in the yard, new shrubs or trees, if they get watered more than every 3 or 4 weeks, they're lucky. But at least every couple of 3 weeks, a good deep soaking. But if you water them more than every week, they end up with real shallow roots. So these are tough plants. If you water them really good and deep, and then let them go 2-3 weeks or a month, these plants will grow in yards and are not irrigated at all once they're established. So main thing is try not to overwater stuff. But the cold weather will not affect these at all. They're really tough plants.
Oh, yay. That is just what I wanted to hear, Mr. Felder, and you have a great weekend.
Oh, no, Rebecca. Now that we got time to chat, I'm going to chat, okay?
Okay.
Your Water Wednesday, I love the idea, but keep in mind that potted plants are given a little bit of water every now and then, where water doesn't run out the bottom. It's really important at least once a year, maybe twice a year, put them in the bathtub or set them out on the porch and water them 2 or 3 times to flush out any built up dissolved fertilizer and old potting soil and stuff. It's called leaching, but it's really good to really flush them out once or twice a year. And then a lot of plants, I've got plants that go, I have potted plants that sometimes go a month or more without needing water in the wintertime. They don't need as much water in the winter. So the main thing is water them really good and then maybe let them dry a little bit between soaking so that down deep, the roots don't. See, water stacks up. If you keep it wet at the top, it's soggy at the bottom and roots in. So it's really good to water down deep, soak it in, let the top dry out a little bit so that the bottom parts don't rot from staying too wet. So water really, really good. So you might want to do like every other Water Wednesday or something, but really at least flush them out every now and then.
Yeah, well, I really felt like when we first put them in, they needed to be watered every week, but I'm like, I think it was the 1st of December when we did all this, and I'm like, sometimes we redo the flower bed, but got it done.
These are brand new shrubs.
Yes.
Okay, let me ask you a couple of questions, and this is for other people listening too. When you planted them, I'm assuming you dug a wide hole or you dug the whole bed, right?
Yes, sir. You were in my ear. You didn't know it, but you were in my ear.
Did you loosen up the potting soil and roots when you planted them?
Did I do what?
Did you loosen up the potting soil and roots when you planted them?
Yes, I did.
Good. A good soaking every 2 or 3 weeks is all they need, and they'll take a really good soaking. They'll do fine after that.
And then I put pine straw all over the bed, and then I didn't have as much pine straw as I wanted, and now my neighbors are bagging up their leaves, and I'll grab me a bag here and there and put leaves on top of the pine straw. And,
it might be better to pull the pine straw back and put the leaves on top of the ground and put the pine straw on top, because the leaves will feed the dirt. Worms will come and eat the leaves at night, and they'll dig all around your roots. So I would put the leaves on top of the ground and just use the pine straw sort of like a coverlet on the bed. But go ahead and put the leaves down
that's
first.
That's going to require a lot more work than I was planning on doing. But
I hear you, but see, I'm not just thinking about Rebecca. I'm thinking about poor old Abelia out there. He's got pine straw on top, and it can't get, and the worms can't get up to those beautiful, tasty leaves on top. Anyway, if nothing else, just stir them together a little bit.
Stir it a little bit, yeah.
There you go. Good, happy medium. Well, okay, well, you stay warm, Rebecca. I enjoyed the chat too. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
The Java, she couldn't get in for first hour. She couldn't get in chatting, so we had to just drag it out now.
But no, I like how now we do have the time to kind of flesh a few things out, because back in the day, Rebecca would have called, or she couldn't even call, before now, and it would have been pop, 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 and out of the door.
And by the way, I know we're going to a break, but and we're not going to have time, because I'm assuming we can get some more calls.
No, we're going to blow past the break. We got some calls lined up.
Okay, well, I want to mention, because this ties in with what Rebecca said, my my what I call horticultural time, my deep dive, was from Pub Talk. We always talk about stuff at the pub, and somebody said, how come when you water their plants, all the water runs out the bottom? And it's sort of like what Rebecca was talking about. And there's a thing called hydrophobic soil. Hydrophobic. You think of like a dog with rabies or something. But potting soil, the peat moss, the bark, stuff like that, when you first put water on it, it runs off. Like if you put water on a sponge, it'll beat up and roll off before it soaks in, because soil is hydrophobic. If you water a little bit and give it a few minutes to kind of soak in, it expands, and that second water absorbs right in. But if you just water once every now and then, a lot of it just blows right past the dirt, comes out the bottom, because most potting soil is hydrophobic. Water twice, once a little bit, come back a few minutes later, then hit them a second time. That always works with us in the ground or in pots or raised beds. Hydrophobic was my deep horticulture dive from my Pub Talk. There, I did it.
Now, the one thing I like with what you said is those, especially with the potted plants, those little water catchers, and you fill that up, and the plant kind of drinks as it wants.
Yeah. If you got peat moss in it, a lot of modern potting soil, because the ingredients have gotten expensive, a lot of them have more bark, and it won't absorb it as much a sponge. Like if you had compost or peat moss in it, it'll suck it back up, but bark won't. A lot of these modern potting soils are mostly bark. And so that's the reason I always add some peat moss or compost whenever I get some new potting soil. I mix it up, keep it in the trash can.
Okay. Now let's go back to the phones, because we have Nelson from Pontotoc on the line.
Ooh, Pontotoc. Nice.
Hello.
What's up, Nelson?
Yeah, hey, I enjoy your show. I listen to it all the time. I have a question about camellias. I've got some old camellias, 3 large plants, and they haven't bloomed very well this time, and I'm wondering, do I need to fertilize them some or what? And then I have some young ones that are at least 3 or 4 years old, and they don't, one bloomed, the others do not. I've got about 6, and one bloomed, and then budded, and the blooms just fell off about a month and a half ago. And that's, I wonder, do I need to fertilize them some more or what?
A little bit. What you described is called bud blast, when the buds either they just don't open or they shed or something like that. Almost always,
right.
that's almost always because the plant's under some kind of stress. It is important to fertilize shrubs A lot of people never fertilize and their plants look okay. A lot of people over fertilize. The plants want a little bit of fertilizer every 2 or 3 or 4 years, just a little bit. So if you'll scatter, not all up under and out from the plant, their roots are out beyond the branches. Just scatter some evenly over the whole area, at least every 3 or 4 years. And don't be heavy-handed with it. That'll help a lot.
Yeah.
Also, when these buds are forming, Nelson, they form in the late summer and the fall. And if it's really hot and dry, they don't form buds very well, and they either don't open or they fall off. So if you could give the plants a really good soaking at least once a month in the late summer or fall, that would help a lot too.
Right. Okay. I do live in the northern part of the state, and I have not had any trouble with azaleas or camellias dying in really cold weather. One thing I do is I put a lot of leaves and pine straw around them, in the fall, and keep that around them pretty tight, and then I rake them back a little sometimes in the spring. But to cover them up, their bottoms of them really good is a good thing that keeps mine from freezing.
Well, you're in the ice box. You would know more about that. I'm from the Delta, and we just assume that some plant's going to freeze. But you're right. Mulch in the roots does have, and plus that worms come up at night and they eat that mulch and they dig down around the roots and they really aerate the soil. So you're really doing several things at once that way. Good idea.
Right. I haven't had any problems with any of them even. Now I did have 2 of my sweet olives to die in that weather, that went down to 15 or 10, for a night or two way back, about 2 years ago, and they did die. But I've got some more sweet olives that did okay. Yeah, sweet olives, what we call banana shrub, Magnolia fuscata, some people call it. There's a few other plants that, again, I'm from the Delta, and every now and then we lost plants that never had any trouble in Jackson, but North Mississippi started having trouble, and they almost always had that problem. You get up into Tennessee, but so it's just a luck of the draw sometimes. Anyway, good tip on the mulch. Okay, thank you very much. Like I said, if you will put a lot of leaves or pine straw and mulch around your azaleas and camellias, you won't have many problems with them. There you go. In the winter. Listen, when you fertilize, I'd wait till March or April when they start growing to fertilize. Just scatter it real light out away from the trunk. They'll do fine. At least every 3 or 4 years. Well, thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, Nelson. Thanks for calling. Thank you. It's going to get cold. It's going to get cold up there, Java. Cold, but I think it's going to get more ice in central in Jackson, more snow further north. Yeah, I mean we're just waiting. I mean the prediction keeps shifting. I mean honestly, the predictions keep shifting. As far as like it's some kind of the weather people I've been watching. It's some kind of line where Jackson could get a lot or just a little bit, and we don't know where that line's going to fall until maybe about Saturday, Sunday. So what we got now? Oh, let's stay on the phones. Let's go to Alabama. Let's go to Mobile and talk with Gene. Hey, Gene, good morning. What's up?
Hey, man, I was listening to the radio a while ago, and he was telling something about trimming the figs, and I was doing my Friday cleaning up in the bathroom, and I couldn't quit. And so I'm trying to find out what you said to trim. I think you trim about now, don't you? January, February, sometime in there. You can prune them later, but once they start budding out, people get soft-hearted. What you do is you follow the tip of the fig from where it stopped growing this past fall, follow it all the way back to where it started last spring, and then leave at least about half of that, a third to half of that. Because and they'll sprout out early, down low, and they'll still have figs. As long as you leave some of last year's growth, they'll have figs. You can cut them to the ground, they'll come back out, but they won't have figs. Always leave at least some stubs of the previous year's growth. They'll branch out with more branches, more figs, more compact plant. Well, I had an old fig tree I had 30, 40 years, and 2-3 years ago it decided it wanted to die for some reason, and it died. Oh, yeah. And I got this cellar going, and hadn't got it producing to mount anything. This last year had a few on it. So what I need to do is come back about halfway down that limb. All the limbs on the trees,
Yeah, everything that grew last year, follow from the tip to where it started last spring, and leave a foot or two of that, and it'll do great. I do that every year. I have fig bushes instead of fig trees, and I can pick mine.
If you showed me that when I was falling out of my grandfather's fig tree and breaking limbs off, getting the whipping for climbing up in the tree, you'd say,
man, I can't tell you how many times I pull limbs over with the garden rake and talk about itchy, all that. Oh man. Nope. I prune them now. I keep them as bushes.
I love figs, and I picked them all my life, but every time I get through picking figs, I come take a bath because I think I'm allergic to them, although I eat them.
Yeah, there you go.
So anyway, all right, man, I appreciate you.
You bet. And by the way, Java, fig is also a ficus. They said this is the year of the ficus. Fig is a ficus too. So I just got me a new angle.
You're gonna learn me one day, Felder. You're gonna learn me. Let's stay on the phones and let's stay in Mobile. Let's go to John. John in Mobile.
John, what's going on? What's up?
Well, good morning. I planted a blood orange tree last year, probably March, April, and I've got other citrus trees that I've not had this issue with. I'm pretty sure when I put it in, I did what you're supposed to, a hole twice as big as the ball, break up the ball, put it in, blah, blah, blah. But it really didn't do much in the way of growing, maybe a couple of inches. Whereas the other trees that were well established, grew probably 6-8 inches or maybe even more. Should I dig it back up when it gets a little warmer and just check the ball and break it up again?
Yeah, well, when you first planted, did you loosen up the end of the potting soil and the roots when you planted it?
I'm pretty sure I did because I usually do, but I'm 76 years old, so who knows anymore.
If you just pull out of the pot, stick it in the ground, it's going to have trouble. I don't know that you could dig it up. It's young enough to do that. I would definitely do it before spring though. Just sort of gently dig it up, maybe shake, loosen it up, maybe plant it a little bit on the higher side, so in case it settles, it's not too deep. If you plant a tree even an inch or two too deep, it can stunt it. Because it's been used to those roots having good drainage in the bottom, and all of a sudden it's in the dirt where it does drain as much. So if you do lift it up, I wouldn't booger the roots up too much, but I would plant it maybe a little bit higher and allow for settling, and try not to water it too much. It might also help if you got a whole bunch of branches to thin some of them out, so the energy that would have gone to what you cut off will go to what's left. That might help invigorate it also. If you've got a lot of twigs, just lose some of the little cluttered inward-facing twigs, and see if it doesn't get a little more energy that way.
Okie dokie, thank you.
All right. Oh, one thing, I would not push it with a lot of fertilizer. Sound like it's struggling, so a little bit of fertilizer, not very much. Give it a light feeding.
Okay. All right, will do.
Okay, good luck on it.
Appreciate your help. All right. Bye-bye.
Java, still got calls coming in?
No, let's go ahead and take our break and see if we can gin up some more. We got a few more minutes on this show, so let's take a break. You've been working hard, man.
Yeah, and I've got we'll go ahead. We can do that extra little tune thing.
Yeah, I got it queued up.
Okay, it's a real cheesy tune from a guy that does cheesy weather tune. Anyway, I do have a couple of pictures I'd like to show when we get back, but I'm only going to do that if we don't get any calls. So, folks, give us a call. Me and Java and other folks at MPB, we welcome you. Toll free 1-877-MPB-RING. We'll talk with you about gardening.
Hi, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Bobby Rush. As a blues man, I love Mississippi Public Broadcasting. If you support Mississippi music and their local programming, donate now, right now, and become a member today, not tomorrow. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Doesn't matter how big or small, but we prefer big. Thank you very much.
Together through the years. Together in the future. MPB, your stories, our mission.
Mississippi is a place of deep roots where every story matters and every voice can be heard. At MPB, we stand with our local communities, bringing you the voices of those who shape our state through local programming that reflects our culture across small towns to big cities, from the Delta to the coast. We tell the stories that define us, from the music that carries our voices to the leaders who inspire change. MPB brings you the heart of Mississippi, celebrating Mississippi one story at a time. MPB, your stories, our mission.
Alrighty, folks, welcome back to the second half of Gestalt Gardener on Mississippi Public Broadcasting. We welcome you. Appreciate you tuning in all week long to our numerous locally produced programs. Before we go any further, though, let's get back to what we're here for, and let's talk with Aaron from Jackson. Hi, Aaron. Good morning.
How you doing, Felder? How you? I'm pretty. How's your morning doing?
Good. What's up?
Well, I have a small bush of rosemary, and I'm trying to see. I actually wanted to get a little bigger, but at the same time, I don't know how to trim it and if it needs trimming or how to water it, nor do I know whether or not it needs to be covered up or protected during this little freeze we got coming.
Yeah, you got it outside in some dirt or is it in a pot?
It's in a pot.
Yeah. Rosemary normally is hardy, but it can freeze if it's a sudden hard freeze. So what I'd do is I would pull it, I'd water it really good, and I'd pull it in closer to the house, or maybe even set it in the garage or something just during this hard freeze. Down below the mid 20 or below, I'd pull it, or else I'd put a trash bag over it all the way to the ground, just protect it. But keep in mind, rosemary can get waist high. But usually it dies back before it gets that big in our hot, humid summer nights. To prune it, what you do is you just cut some of the stems back part ways, and they'll branch back out. You know how they have these long stems? Well, just reach back to where they started and leave a few inches of that, and they'll sprout back out. So just thin out the tall stuff. If you want to give the whole thing a haircut overall, you can cut as much as the third of it back, sort of in a cone shape or a ball shape. You can cut a third back, or else just cut some of the longer stems back halfway or 2/3 and let new growth come on. But they don't need a lot of water. Too much water is worse than none at all. But they do need a good soaking in a pot at least every 3 or 4 weeks, a couple of 3 or 4 weeks during the worst of the summer. Other than that, keeping it wet is worse than letting it be a little on the dry side. I would definitely cover it up over the next few nights, definitely.
Okay, thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Okay, and good. And by the way, I've lost some rosemary too. Some of mine make it, some of them don't, and almost always because I either kept it too wet or it got too cold too quick. So I may lose some of mine this next week. So good luck on it.
All right. Thank you.
You bet. Oh, you still there?
Yeah, I'm
Aaron's gone. Aaron, you can also cut some of the stems back about 4 or 5 inches long, strip the bottom leaves off, and root them. They can root in water in as little as 3 weeks. So cut some of them back 4 or 5 inches long, strip off all but a few leaves on the end, put them in some water, and root you some more just in case. It's insurance.
Oh, okay. Thank you. That's a good idea. Okay. All right.
Okay. Good luck, Aaron. Good look, Ron.
Ron. I knew you were coming with it. Ron.
I was waiting for that.
Oh, me. Hey, Java, let me show a couple of pictures real quick. If the folks back in the studio could put up picture number 9. That's me covering my plants up with rebar. I made me some rods with some rebar. You buy reinforcing bars at like Home Depot or Lowe's or someplace, and just make some hoops. And I put plastic over it all the way to the ground. The reason I like to use the hoops because it's important for the plastic to not touch the plants. They'll freeze that way. So I just make a little hoop house by just bending some rebar and covering it with plastic. But also want to show picture number 11. which is of a, no, excuse me. Yeah, picture number 11. That's my bird bath. It froze solid this time last year. Birds need water in the wintertime. For the next few days, it's going to be too cold for them to get water. So if you got a bird bath or even a mud puddle or something, pour some hot water over it to open it up so birds can have some form of drinkable water. And then if you've got a water fountain, before I left for England, I unplugged my fountains because if you have a fountain or waterfall, on one hand, that moving water can keep it from freezing, but if it does freeze and freeze solid, it can burn your pump up. So I would turn off the water pumps, the water fountains, and put some hot water out there to keep the ice from forming on the bird baths. And the very last thing, and this is picture number 14, I'm having my daughter go by my garden tomorrow to turn on a couple of my outdoor faucets, my water faucets, not to a drip, but a dribble about the size of a pencil lead. If you let the water run just a little bit, enough to where it can just trickle all the time, that'll keep warm water flowing in your pipes, less likely to get a break. So when it gets down in the teens, I like to have my farthest away from the house, I like to have my water faucets just a little bit more, a dribble, if that makes sense. Not a drip, not a stream, but a dribble. And that'll keep them from freezing. That's really important with this kind of weird weather, because it could be tough, Java. It's going to be rough.
Yeah, no, it is. And I really want to salute Pam Pybus, Fix It 101, Tuesdays at 4 o'clock right here on Think Radio. And she gave a nice, kind of overview of some of the things you need to do for your home. And you can check out the podcast right now, wherever you get your podcast, Fix It 101. But she gave some nice tips about what to do with your home as we, get ready for this type of weather, especially when it comes to pipes bursting and having that water drip and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. It's just kind of, we don't have any calls, do we?
No, and we're running on the end of the show. I got one more YouTube comment, but let me know when you're ready for it.
Okay, I just want to give a real quick recap. Normally hardy shrubs, the kind of stuff that's been growing in small towns and older parts of town for decades. You don't have to worry about those. They got plenty of water. That's the biggest concern. So normally hardy plants I wouldn't worry about. If you've got some unusual plants that you're not sure about, cover them up. If you've got potted plants, set them on the ground or up against the house and mulch their pots to keep the to keep them from getting extra cold. But water will insulate the roots better than dry air. If you've got plants that really shouldn't be out there right now, like sugar snap peas and lettuce and stuff, cover it as best you can. Or just to make a note to let's plant together later next month, which is the right time to plant those. Uncover your bird baths, and if you have some outdoor faucets, let them dribble a little bit. These are about the most important things you can do over the next few days of this cold weather. Other than that, it's just a matter of staying warm and dry indoors if you can. Yeah. And pick some daffodils and pick some camellias and bring them in so you got something to smile about after one's outside froze.
Yeah, that's the truth. MDOT, they've been, and MEMA been putting out some language as far as like, if you don't have to go anywhere, stay off the road. So to your point, pull all your stuff in so you can have something to look at while you're at the house.
Yep. And by the way, Java, I'm not worried about my kale at all.
I got a YouTube comment that we're gonna but no, you maybe even hit it, but Amanda in Walthall County, she says, good morning, and should I bring in my pots of money wort and potted grocery store roses? Okay.
You could, but if you'll just water them and set them on the ground, if it's a tropical plant, I would bring it in. But the rose and all, the main thing is just water it real good. If you want to bring them in just for a few days, as long as it's above the mid-20s, I wouldn't worry about it. But if it can get down below teens, South Mississippi, it might get in the teens. I would definitely either set them on the ground or bring them in just for a few days.
Now, what are your tips for when you bring in, especially like potted plants, maybe larger potted plants into the home, because they may have like little buggies or little.
Just if you cluster your plants, put some plastic on the floor or whatever, and put your big plant, put the little plants on the big plant, create a little mini jungle type thing. Most of the time, the critter's going to stay right there. The worst thing you got to worry about is a few lizards coming out. But if you just bring them in for 2 or 3 days, it's not going to be a problem. I would only bring in plants if it's going to be really below down to the lower 20s or below. And if you can set them back out the next day, that'd be great. But yeah, get your fly swatter handy.
Yeah, no, I have a story. My favorite name today, What in the Helen, talking about she brought some plants in and the ladybugs got kind of ferocious in the house.
Yeah, well, that's the Asian lady. We have an imported Asian lady beetle. And they cluster inside. They have to survive over, the regular ones do too. Well, these come in, and once one bug finds a nice warm spot, it gives out a pheromone that attracts all the rest of them. They're just trying to stay warm. Get your handheld vacuum, suck them up, and put them back out. But as a handheld vacuum is a lot easier and safer. There's a bunch of sprays inside. Handheld vacuum. That's how to deal with Asian lady beetles. That's true. Now, I think I may have asked you this already, but what's the weather over there? It's in the 40s. Going to get down into the 30s sometime. But see, here it gets cool and it stays cool. It never gets in the teens here. It gets colder in Mississippi, but it gets cool and it stays cool. It doesn't go up and down and up and down. So they don't worry about it. But they don't have camellias and daffodils outside like we do. So, we have the best of all worlds, except occasionally over 100 degrees, occasionally down into the teens. That's just what, just got to elbows out, knees bent, ready to jump in any direction. As always, you want to see the weather change in Mississippi, just wait 5 minutes. That's right. Anyway, your Crystal's kale is going to make it just fine, but I'd water them if it doesn't get a good rain. Otherwise, we'll see how this time next week the tale will be told. That's right, man. And the Lord say the same. We'll do it all again next time. About 30 seconds. Take us home, Felder. All righty, folks. I know it's weird time to think about it, but think ahead. It'll be time to plant fruit trees and roses and cool season vegetables in a month or so. So start thinking about it. Maybe after this freeze, get everything ready and then get a chance. Get outside when it's not so cold and kick around a little bit and get dirty. It's okay. Get muddy if you need to. We'll see you next week here on MPB.